Hello, welcome to our presentation today. We're going to be presenting on our Superstore, the Superstore data set, and we're going to be looking into some customer insights. Next slide. So this is our agenda for today. We're going through a couple, the hidden costs of discounts, some basket analysis, some linear regressions, and then some overall strengths of the company, what problems they're having and what possible solutions they can implement. And then finally, our recommendations. Okay, so the hidden cost of discounts. We all love discounts. They're exciting, they're seasonal, and giving our customers a great deal is a really important part of our strategy. I would say it even feels downright un-American to not participate in some Black Friday deals. But what if I told you those discounts might be hiding some challenges that we need to address? So when we look at this general survival curve of our customer data set, we can see that we hold pretty solid retention with the probability of customers staying with us remaining pretty steady. It's not until about the 700-day mark that there's a noticeable drop. So that means that we're pretty good at attracting and keeping our customers for the first couple of years, but we seem to struggle beyond that. There's a drop. The drop-off indicates that a significant number of our customers lose interest or stop engaging after about 2 years. Next page. So to better understand why our customer base was leaving, we decided to dig deeper and segment into different groupings. Some splits only showed some marginal differences, like the difference between a consumer or a corporate or office segment. But there's also other factors that had some very drastic patterns, particularly within our discount group. And we also noticed some notable discrepancies between markets. So our goal was to measure and quantify how these different factors impacted customer churn. And we had hypothesized that these factors would reveal significant drivers. Next slide. However, when we applied the Cox proportional model, none of the variables passed the proportional hazard assumption, meaning that their effect on churn was not consistent over time. So it wouldn't give us precise analysis if we continued on this way. But of course, we found a different approach using the restricted mean survival time. Next slide. Instead of trying to quantify a factor's effect on churn in terms of hazards, like Cox, RMST allows us to focus on how these factors affect overall retention time of our customers. So what did it reveal? We saw that using these methods, there was a few statistically significant factors that influenced retention. So if we look at our first group, the high discount group, we found that being in this group is associated with a reduction in retention time by about 38.5 days. So heavily discounting may not be having the unintended consequences that we wanted for our customer loyalty. It looks like we're initially attracting our customers, but we're not creating a solid foundation for long-term engagement. Next, every purchase actually seems to help extend our relationship with our customers by about 3.57 days to be exact. And then our most troubling stat that we found was in our Europe, Middle East, and Africa market, where customers in this region had a significantly shorter retention time by about 48.9 days. And that's comparing to our market with the highest retention, APAC. So looking at this, we still wanted to run our Cox regression. So we did with the variables that would lead to a more precise equation. So we can go to the next slide. We found that every 10% increase in an average discount correlated with a 1.38 times increase in the likelihood of churn. Similarly, every day, delayed shipping was associated with a 0.3 increase in likelihood of churn, which might sound a little marginal, but can easily compound with repeated days of delays. And then finally, standard shipping compared to first-class shipping resulted in a 56% lower likelihood of churn. Okay, and then next slide. So bigger baskets, bigger revenue. While our high CLV customers represent 59% of our revenue, they're only accounting for 37% of our customer base. This high reliance might seem potentially risky, but these customers are not an insignificant portion of our overall base, and they're very highly valued. So focusing on tailored product recommendations for this group presents a very powerful opportunity. We can go ahead, next slide. So through our basket analysis for our high CLV customers, we discovered that these customers are 2 times more likely to buy binders when purchasing items like appliances, furnishings, storage solutions, and that's compared to buying any other random products. At 67% of the time, there was a strong association by the people who were buying these products were also buying binders. So although this combination only appears in about 0.2% of our transactions, the patterns show strength opportunities in things like cross-selling. And for the next slide, we found that customers are 2 times more likely to buy binders when purchasing appliances, copiers, and storage solutions compared to random purchases. So again, this showed up it was about 67% of the time where customers are buying binders when purchasing these other things. And this shows up in actually less percent of our transactions, but it was very strong in these relationships. So we could leverage this by developing targeted marketing or something like this where there's a do not forget at checkout. Okay.
Thank you, Xiomara. All right, so I will be covering our next story block, and I'll be talking about purchase behavior prediction. Who are the customers that generated the most company revenue? Specifically, we are examining the probability of high revenue contribution and focusing on identifying customers who are likely to generate significant revenue for the business. This involves defining a threshold for high value, and our high value threshold is customers whose revenue contributions are in the top 25% or above a certain dollar amount for the company. And we'll be using logistic regression to model which factors contribute to this status. So the high value variable, again, that we define is if a customer is in the top 25% of total sales, then they are identified as a high value customer. We used the interquartile range of total sales to define our dependent variable. So the top 25 customers So as you can see in this bar chart here, the top 25% of customers generated over a little more than 55% of total sales, while the rest of the 75% of customers only generated 45% of total sales. We then looked at the distribution of high-value customers across the different markets. So as you can see in the stacked column chart, it is shown here that there are no high-value customers in the Africa, Canada, or EMEA markets, EMEA being, as Xiomara stated earlier, the European, Middle East, and Africa markets. The high-value customers are primarily located in the APAC, the Asia Pacific, Europe, Latin America, and the United States. So what could be beneficial to a business is to compare customers' churn probabilities with the predicted revenue contributions to guide retention strategies. So we can see that here in this next chart. Out of the almost 400 high-value customers, only 2.7% of high-value customers have left. So this is actually a good strength of the company. It shows that they're doing a good job of keeping their most loyal customers, especially the ones that are contributing highly to their sales. However, it is also important to note that out of the not high value proportion of customers, almost 1,200, about 31% of the not high value customers have churned. So this could mean that the firm needs to develop a more rigorous retention strategy to keep their customers, to keep the ones that have not made a purchase after many years. Okay. So using logistic regression, we're answering the question, what are the characteristics of a customer that contribute to large sales? We're focusing on identifying the customers who are likely to generate significant revenue for the business and what factors will contribute to a higher probability of a customer generating large sales for the global superstore. So after generating our our logistic regression model and refining it, we ended up with eight independent variables, but only a few of them were deemed significant uh, due to the underlying stats. So I'll go over the ones that were selected as significant by the model. So frequency. If a customer's total number of orders increases by one, the odds of a customer being a high value customer are 31.2% more likely. Uh, for average order amount or average quantity, if a customer's average order amount increases by one, the odds of a customer being a high value customer are 168.5% more likely. And then, and this is an interesting one to note, if a customer's average shipping cost increases by one, the likelihood of a customer being a high value customer increases by 28.8%. So this could potentially mean that a customer living in a farther region and not living as close to a distribution center as other customers are, they have a higher shipping cost, which could potentially contribute to the total order amount. So let's go on. All right. The last variable I want to note here is the corporate segment. So compared to customers who have ordered more in the consumer segment, customers who have ordered more from the corporate segment are 135.1% more likely to be customers who generate the top 25% of total revenue. All right. So after developing our logic regression model, we combined the validation data with the predictions to test the accuracy of our predicted model, and we ended up with an accuracy of almost 92%, meaning that the logic regression can effectively predict if a customer will be low or high valued. As you can see in this other chart, our model has done a good job at identifying the customers who have not changed and have the customers who are not high value and the customers that are high value. So some key insights that we can derive from this story is that customers who are in the corporate and consumer segments are more likely to be ones who will generate higher revenue. Returning customers who make more frequent orders over time and order more items in their transactions are likely to generate a good portion of overall sales revenue. So hopefully with these notes, Global Superstore can have better revenue predictions by understanding the distribution and growth potential of high-value customers. At the same time, this also gives the opportunity to generate communication strategies for high-value customers, such as premium services or exclusive offers. Now I'll hand it off to Lauren.
Oh, thank you, Luis. Now that we were able to kind of identify our high customer lifetime value customers and gain some insight on how they were down, what can we do with that information? So ultimately, how can we uncover the factors that drive high CLV and use them to shape the strategies for growth and customer retention utilizing marketing strategies? So as we saw in Xiomara's analysis, a key driver we discussed that product relationships drive value. We saw that specific product groupings increase transaction value. So we saw appliances and copiers and storage. When they were bought together, there was a 67% confidence they will also purchase binders. And when customers purchase appliances and furnishings and storage, there's a 65% confidence to buy binders and 2.2 times more likely to also purchase those binders. There was even a strong association of appliances, furnishings, and paper where customers are more likely to buy storage as well. So we see that product relationships drive value, but what do we do with that information? There's an opportunity for a global superstore to implement actionable insights, such as creating promotional bundles featuring appliances and storage to encourage cross-selling. For example, recommending storage solutions during appliance purchases can increase order value. So we see that those product relationships and what they do and how they can implement and better serve global superstore. But now we want to see what other factors drive high CLV and other purchase patterns. So we ran linear regression. Next slide. Linear regression as a whole captures linear relationships that between customer attributes and CLV. So we use CLV as our dependent variable in this analysis. Linear regression also provides coefficients, making it easy to explain how factors contribute to CLV. So the impact the independent variables have on CLV as a whole, which we're kind of what we're looking at for this analysis. And the linear regression as a whole allows for adjustments like handling multicollinearity and for seeing some interesting results for our model. So through our model workflow, the most important emphasis in this workflow is that we use multicollinearity to make sure there weren't variables that coincided with each other based from our customer data frame. We ran multiple models and refined predictors in order to find the best model, and usually it ended up using step analysis to create our linear regression. Next slide. Based off our model results, we were able to pull a key insight from our specific predictors and get a better understanding of the impact of our variables in our data set when it came to CLV. The biggest insight we pulled was that in low CLV, there's low CLV in regions like Africa, Canada, and EMEA, which are the European, Middle East, and African countries, at a significant level of 0.001. So very highly significant. Customers in the African market have a CLV that is on an average $12.64 lower than customers in the baseline market, which is the US. In contrast, we have regions like the US that have higher CLVs and stronger purchase frequency. Customers purchase less frequently and rely more on discounts in the African, Canadian, EMEA countries. For every increase in the average discount, their CLV decreases by $7.78. So when we see them use more discounts, their overall customer lifetime value ends up on a decrease side. So these disparities kind of suggest that there's different regions that may require tailored strategies to address these challenges, like implementing customer loyalty or purchasing habits, but there's opportunity to implement programs in low CLV regions to increase repeated purchases and reduce reliance on those discounts. Next slide. Pass back to Luis.
All right. Thank you, Lauren. So to talk about the strengths of the global superstore, we decided to take a unique approach. And so we decided to do a sales analysis on the global superstore customer data using a Power BI dashboard to highlight what are they doing right in terms of sales and profits. So let's shift to our dashboard. Okay. So as you can see, we have several different charts and graphs here, all together in this one page. But and as you can see, the global superstore can utilize this dashboard to filter on specific markets, segments, or countries if they want to know how they're doing in Afghanistan or the United States or Italy. They can just use this filter here. And if they want to know how they're doing in a specific category or in specific products or subcategories, they can use this filter here. But I'm just going to keep it general. So the Global Superstore has 1,590 customers, and out of the 1,590 customers, they have a total sales of 12.64 million with a total profit of 1.47 million over the span of 4 years. If we look at this sales trend analysis chart, it shows a consistent upward trend in sales from 2011 to 2014. Quarterly growth in sales, particularly in Q4 2014, as shown here. This demonstrates significant momentum, peaking at $1.48 million in revenue. So this is a strength because the business has built a robust sales process and is likely leveraging seasonality or strong customer engagement during high-performing quarters. If we look at this donut chart, this highlights what the top 5 popular products are. So we have Cardinal Index tabs, Eldon File Cart. These are generating significant sales volume. So the dominance of these products suggests that the company has identified a well-targeted product mix that resonates with its customers. So focusing on these high-performing products ensures steady revenue contributions. All right. If we look at this chart right here, this shows by the different priority segments, like which priority segments are generating the most profit. So as shown here, medium priority products account for 8.8% of profit, about $864,000 of in total profit, while high priority items contribute an additional $420,000 in profit. So this suggests that prioritizing medium high value items is an effective strategy. So getting customers to order their to order their to make their orders and put and order the shipping as medium high priority, get them as fast as possible, and creating upselling opportunities around those segments can generate more sales. Right. And then if we look at this next stacked column chart, the revenue by market, this highlights diverse revenue streams by market. So revenue is well distributed across the multiple regions of the global superstore, with APAC and Europe markets leading in sales, both over 2 million. This geographical diversity reduces risk by not over-relying on one market. And this is the strength of the global superstore, as a diversified global footprint protects the business from regional economic downturns. All right. So, and one last thing to highlight. So with 1,590 total customers and over 51,000 total orders, it appears that the business has strong customer engagement, driving repeat purchases. All right. So let's go back to our presentation.
Thank you, Luis. In order for Global Superstore, if they were to utilize our analysis, there would be some vulnerabilities that we'd have to address, but with possible solutions. So, first being an over-reliance on high-value customers, focusing primarily on high-value customers as we did throughout our analysis can kind of overlook those growth opportunities within our mid-value or new customer segment. So, that could also limit that long-term scalability. And focusing only on those customers might miss those chances to grow by attracting those mid-level customers, which could hurt long-term growth. So a possible solution would be expanding those mid-value engagement, creating ways to turn mid-level customers into top customers, like giving them special deals or sending personalized emails or getting their input through surveys and feedback can definitely help elevate our customer database, not just by focusing on one segment. Another one being operational inefficiencies. There is potential inefficiencies in implementing bundling strategies, as we mentioned throughout our presentation, and that can make it hard because we've already seen churn happen within our shipping problems that we've had throughout the database and through our analysis, and that ultimately can cause customers to leave, which we've seen in the past. So making it easier to ship bundled products by better organizing inventory and improving teamwork between departments can help streamline operations in order to enhance the efficiency that we're looking for our customers so they can retain and stay. And lastly, seasonal CLV disparity. We saw that there is inconsistent CLV across markets during seasonal promotions. There's an opportunity to customize seasonal promotions to reflect those cultural and market-specific preferences of underperforming regions like Canada, Africa, and EMEA. So tailoring seasonal deals to match the culture and needs of those regions where sales are low can definitely be a solution that we can address, or Global Superstore can address throughout the rest of their logistics.
Okay, so to go over some recommendations, a couple, I know we've hit the nail over the head on this one, but the limit the reliance on discounts. So as we've seen, the better way would probably to focus on value added services. So that could be through free shipping, quicker shipping, or some free upgrades like increased warranties. So instead of discounts, limiting the effect that they have on churn. And then another one is just to leverage the association rules. So this would increase our average order value. And this could be through utilizing the did you forget at checkout or creating things like office starter kits. We can start with our high CLV segments and then eventually replicate this to increase the frequency for our lower CLV segments. Yay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.